Hello everybody, and welcome to your next lesson, which is going to cover order of operations. Now, order of operations is something that we kind of talked about all year, and you might be pretty good at this already. Today is going to be really the first day we're going to talk about this in depth and kind of go over everything in detail. One of the things that you might be faced with are these little acronyms. Okay? One of them is, the Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally acronym, PEMDAS. And then there's also the PEMDAS. Now, it's up to you to kind of decide how you want to think of order of operations, but the important thing that you have to realize with order of operations is that multiplication and division and addition and subtraction aren't necessarily in that order. Multiplication definitely comes before addition. Division definitely comes before addition as well. However, when they're together, when multiplication and division are together, adding and subtraction are together, then it's a different story altogether. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Now, I'm not going to talk about PEMDAS in too much detail, but the advantage of thinking of it this way is that the G stands for grouping, whereas the P in parentheses or in please stands for parentheses. When doing these problems, you're not always going to be faced with parentheses. Sometimes you might have different types of grouping symbols, like a square root, or perhaps a bracket of some sort. Now, you haven't done this yet, but absolute value. Might have something like that. The absolute value bars, those are those vertical lines. But grouping is going to be really important. You're going to want to do that first. So parentheses, and then everything else is all kind of falls in place there. Okay, so the P and the E stand for parentheses, and you want to do anything in parentheses first. Parentheses tells you, hey, do that first. It absolutely does not matter what is inside parentheses. It could be addition, one of the lowest things in order of operations that you have. It could be addition, and still, if it's in parentheses, you do it first, no matter what else is there. Even if there's multiplication or there's exponent somewhere in the problem. Whatever's in parentheses, you do that part first. That should be your main focus. The E stands for exponents. So once you're done clearing parentheses, you're going to want to do everything that is an exponent next. Now, not everything, I should also preface this, not everything's going to have parentheses and exponents. A lot of problems that you have will not have parentheses or exponents. But this is more of a mental checklist you should always be going through when you guys solve problems. Not just order of operation problems, any problem. Order of operations is something that you always follow, no matter what. Today you're learning about order of operations, but it doesn't mean that tomorrow you forget all about it. Order of operations is something that you continue to have to do. It never stops. It's just something that's one of the general rules in mathematics that we have to follow. Otherwise we have chaos. All right, now the MD stands for multiplication and division. Do whatever comes first from left to right. If you have multiplication, like 8 times 7 divided by 2, and it's integrated with division, do it left to right. So 8 times 7 is 56, and 56 divided by 2 is 28. That's how you do that one. If it was written like this, 8 divided by 2, I'm just going to change the order of those numbers around a little bit. 8 divided by 2 times 7, you might be tempted to do this first. But again, if multiplication and division are together, you just do it left to right. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 times 7 is 28. Same answer here, but it's because I kind of use the same numbers from the same fact family. Ask Sally part, the AS stands for addition and subtraction. And again, you want to do whatever comes first from left to right. Very, very important that you do this. So right here, 8 plus 7 is 15 minus 5 plus 2. 15 minus 5 is 10, and 10 plus 2 is 12. Notice that I did that from left to right. I did not do all addition first and then subtract. I did 8 plus 7, then I subtracted 5, then we added 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right into some of our first sample problems, our examples here. And one of the things that I want you to do as mathematicians, as math students, is I want you to be able to be very procedural about these kind of problems. And when I say procedural, I mean I want you to show your steps, show your work. Some of you might look at this problem, like this one, for instance. You might look at this and go, oh, I can do that in my head, Mr. Oliver. That's really easy for me to do. And I totally understand. I can do it in my head too. Still, I want you to show your steps. So, and in our case, we're actually going to write them down, just so that we're thinking about what we're doing a little bit. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do parentheses first. So we're going to clear parentheses by subtracting 12 minus 3. So I'm going to do that first, and 12 minus 3 is 9, and then 5 plus 9. The 5 just kind of comes down. The next step is pretty simple. We're just going to add, okay, and then you're done. 5 plus 9, and that's your answer. So parentheses, clear parentheses first, And then after that, all we were faced with was addition. Here's another problem. Again, just stop. You need to stop and look at these problems and make sure you know what's going on. Don't just do it left or right. Look at what the operations are, and then make your decision how you're going to solve it. Okay, so right here, I notice we have some multiplication going on right there. So what that means is that we're going to do that first. So very first step, multiply 3 times 2. I'm going to do this little caret. You'll notice that I like to do that symbol. We do it in order of operations. So 8 minus 6 plus 7. Okay, now what we have is subtraction and addition. What comes first? Well, it does kind of matter. But when addition and subtraction are together, when that's all that's left in the problem, do it left to right. So we're going to subtract as our next step. 8 minus 6 is 2. And then our last step will be add 2 and 7. 2 plus 7 is 9. That's it. In our next example, we have division and we have parentheses. So what do we do first? Of course, we do our grouping symbols first. So let's clear the parentheses first, add what's inside of it. Normally division comes before addition. However, since we have these parentheses right here, that takes precedence. That means we do it first. So 39 divided by 13. Okay, the next step is to divide. 39 divided by 13 is 3. And that's it. I don't know why I had another line here, but you didn't need it. First step, clear parentheses and divide. We've been starting kind of simple with these problems, and they can get more complicated, as you're going to see in a little bit. Okay, now here's a problem where there's a lot going on. We have division, we have multiplication, division again, addition, and exponents. You'll notice we don't have any parentheses anywhere. So we don't have any parentheses, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to solve exponents first. Nothing in that problem is going to be touched except for 3 to the 3rd power. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to bring everything else down. 10 divided by 2 times 6 comes down, divided by 5 comes down, the plus sign comes down, and then I need to figure out what 3 to the 3rd power is. Well, 3 to the 3rd power means 3 times 3. If you're thinking 9, you're not thinking hard enough. It's not 9, it's 27. 3 times 3 is 9. Times another 3 is 27. 27 here, not 9. Okay? So make sure you're always thinking about what those really mean. They don't mean times 3. This means 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, so what's the next step? Well, we have division, multiplication, and some addition in there. First step, let's do division. Let's divide 10 and 2. So that's all I'm going to do. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and then I'm going to drop everything else down. I want to see you guys doing the same thing as well. We need you to show your work. Try not to do all this in your head. Show every step. Like I was saying earlier, you want to be procedural. You want to show your steps, show your procedure. Next step is to multiply 5 and 6. There's my caret symbol again. 5 times 6, 30. And then I'm going to drop everything else down. Notice how I'm not changing the order of this problem. The numbers are maintaining their order in the problem. All right, next step. We're going to divide 30 and 5. 30 divided by 5 is 6, and then I'm going to drop down the plus 27. And all we're left with is our last step, which is a really simple step. You learned this in 1st grade, how to add. So we're going to add 6 and 27. So 6 plus 27 is 33, and that's your answer. Okay, now that is not easy if you're someone that doesn't like to show your work, doesn't like to show your step, and likes to do all this in their head. I don't doubt there's lots of students out there that can probably do this in their head. We, as math teachers, we want to see you showing all your work. Show your steps. Show us that you understand order of operations. See, doing all this too shows me you understand order of operations. Step by step, you'll be just fine. Try not to look at the whole thing. Just look at it bit by bit, piece by piece. Okay, for our next problem, we have 3 times 10 plus 9 times 4. All right, so we have multiplication and we have addition. Okay, so the first step is to multiply. Now here's a problem where you can get away with doing a couple things at once. So I'm going to do 2 sets of carets, and then I'm just going to drop the plus sign in between whatever I get for that. So 3 times 10 is 30, 9 times 4 is 36, and all we're left with is the addition. So add 30 and 36, and you got it. 30 plus 36 is 66. And there's your answer. Okay, again, here's our next example where we're getting a little bit more complicated as we do this. But if you look at the whole problem, if you try to look at the whole thing, it may be very difficult for you. So just look at it as just one step every step along the way, little by little, and you can do it. First step is to do the parentheses. Okay, so the first step that you're going to do when you solve this is to clear the parentheses. That's it. I'm not going to do anything else but that. 7 minus 2 is 5. Okay, so let's rewrite the problem, but instead of putting 7 minus 2 in parentheses, let's put the 5 in parentheses. Now sometimes you might notice that when we solve something that's in parentheses, we get rid of the parentheses. But in this case, there's a 3 right up against the parentheses, so I want to kind of keep that there. So I'm going to keep the parentheses still intact, even if there's just one number inside of them. So now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply 3 and 5. I'm going to rewrite it again, step by step. 14 plus 15 minus 2 times 5. We have some more multiplication, so I'm going to do that next. 2 times 5 is 10, so our next step is to just multiply again. I guess this could have been your second step, but I'm just going to kind of break it up just so we're not doing too much at once. 14 plus 15 minus 10. And then our next step is to add 14 and 15. 14 and 15 make 19. No, they don't. Okay, 14 and 15 make 29. 29 minus 10 is what? That leaves us with our last step, which is to subtract. 29 minus 10 is 19. And there's your answer. Okay, in this next example, it may look like I have a couple problems here, but actually this is a fraction. The whole thing is written as a fraction. So when we do this, first thing we want to do is we want to kind of treat the top of this fraction and the bottom of it, the numerator and denominator, as separate problems altogether. So solve the top, solve the bottom, and then see what you can do after that. So I'm off on the side here. I'm going to simplify the top. 8 squared is 16. 16 minus 14, right? Right? No, you guys should all be screaming at your screen right now. Not 16. 8 squared is actually 64, right? Everyone should know that. And then 64 minus 14 is 50. So we just solved the top. So the numerator is 50. Now let's simplify the bottom. And when I say simplify can take on a lot of different meanings. You know, a lot of times in math, simplify could mean put something in lowest terms. It could mean change it from a mixed number to improper. And in this instance, I'm basically just solving it. So simplify means I'm solving the top. Or if I'm simplifying the bottom, I am solving the bottom. Okay, I'm going to do the bottom part, just off on the side a little bit, where I have room to work, and I'm going to do everything left to right. 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, so there's our bottom number. So now we're left with a fraction, 50 over 25. Now remember, fraction is also a division problem. Remember that. We've talked about this in class quite a bit. But a fraction is also a division problem. Numerator, top number, divided by the denominator. That's what it means. So we're going to divide 50 by 25. So 50 divided by 25 is 2. That's really simple math right there, and there's your answer. So this problem right here could be complicated if you try to look at it all at once. But if you just focus, just focus on one part of the problem at once, 8 squared minus 14, don't even worry about the bottom, you're good. Or if you just want to focus on the bottom, do that. But hopefully the overrunning theme here is that you understand, solve these kind of problems. You need to be very structured with your steps. You need to show your work. You need to do little by little. If you try to do too much, it's going to be really difficult for you. Okay, and that does it, everybody. That concludes our lesson here on order of operations. Just remember, order of operations is something that you never stop doing. It's something that we will always do. It's not just something we did today. It's not something we're just going to do tomorrow. It's something that you maintain forever. As long as you're a math student, you always have to follow order of operations. One of the more important things that you have to learn in math. And not just learn it, you want to be experts at it. You want to know it inside and out. Okay, so everyone have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.